Today on Lockdown Red Wings, Detroit hands the Boston Bruins just their 10th loss of the season on the back of Dylan Larkin's three-point night.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Lockdown Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I am a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News radio podcast. Well, Scotty's a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, covering state playoffs? Was that state playoffs that you covered this weekend?
Yeah, high school states, man. Thursday through Saturday. I was at the arena for like 12 or 13 hours straight on Saturday. Yeah. It was a very, very long weekend. But yeah, Detroit Catholic Central, 4-peats. Got the Division I level. Beats Brighton for the second year in a row. Brother Rice wins Division II. And then I'm totally blanking. That's super embarrassing. On to D3. Oh, Flint Powers. Flint Powers won D3, their first title in school history, like 50 plus years of playing state level or high school level, state level hockey. So cool. Yeah, fun weekend.
Yeah, I also saw some hockey this weekend that wasn't Red Wings related. I went to Fraser and watched some Motor City Rockers hockey for the first time ever, FPHL.
It's cool, ain't it?
It is really cool.
Yeah.
It was a lot faster paced than I was expecting. They did a really good job of kind of catering to their crowd in a lot of ways. They emphasized the kid stuff. It reminded me a lot of what the USPBL is trying to do. And
for sure,
I have my thoughts on that ice rink as a whole, having played out of it my entire life. But, being in a stadium sized rink has nothing but benefits to a team that's trying, an independent pro league that's trying to get their feet off the ground.
Right.
It was a good product. I heavily enjoyed the game, and, for the value, it was nice. It's good stuff.
It's super cool. I agree.
Yeah, independent hockey is just fun.
It is.
But anyways, we're here to talk Red Wings. Red Wings had a home back-to-back against the Boston Bruins. They lost the first game 3-2 in Boston, and then they won the second game 5-3 at LCA on Sunday. We're recording this Sunday evening. Scotty, I don't know. Do you want to try and maybe talk about it game by game? But as a whole, it's kind of impossible to separate them completely. It'll always kind of be married because we're talking about both of them in hindsight.
Yeah, I think it's probably easier to talk in the viewpoint of a weekend recap versus a game to game. But I mean, we can talk about just really quickly each game and how they went. I mean, Saturday was. You got off to an early lead. You looked really solid, took advantage of some high danger opportunities. And then the Boston Bruins are the Boston Bruins. And so they were able to claw their way back in. And you found yourself losing a hockey game there. And we had a very fun time in the press box with that game. So, yeah, that was Saturday. And then Sunday, you got off to an early lead. But you were actually able to hold on, even though Boston did everything in their power to try to claw back in that one too. So two very similar games that I don't feel bad about just kind of combining into one big 6-period long hockey game instead of breaking it down game by game for our purposes. Yeah.
I thought the Red Wings had a really, really good first period in the first game. I mean, you got a shorthanded goal out of Andrew Copp, followed up by a power play goal by Andrew Chiasson. Or Alex Chiasson, rather. And Copp and Chiasson both had really good weekends as a whole. They scored a goal in each. Obviously, Copp's second goal is an empty netter. But defensively, Andrew Copp was really good. It feels like he's finally getting back to 100%. It's taken a long time, as core surgery does tend to have that. But it's you're starting to see the guy that you're paying $5 million to play. And in that first period, the Red Wings had 2 shorthanded goals this weekend. They had a total of, 3 power play goals, too. Special teams was kicking ass in this. And obviously, you're not going to stop the Bruins power play every single time. As in the second game, or the first game, rather, you did get punished. Although I have my complaints with the Patrice Bergeron power play goal, with how that transpired. I don't know if you saw any of that covering all your state championship hockey, but
no, it was a fluid convo and watching going on in the box.
you go from going up 3-1 to getting the guy who scored your goal getting called an interference penalty on, and then they immediately tie it up. I mean, that in and of itself changed the direction of that entire hockey game. And don't get me wrong, the Boston Bruins dominated period 2 in game number 1. Absolutely dominated period 2 in game number 1. But they finally got on the board after Hellberg was playing really solid hockey. I have my issues with his rebound control, but you put me in that, I would not do any better. So I'm not going to give him too much crap for that. He still made over 30 saves in this hockey game while only allowing 3 goals. So
I thought he was great. To be honest.
He was.
The thing with Hellberg that's been consistent throughout the entire year is he will make really impressive saves. He just also has a tendency to let in softies like crazy. Like you're you know what I mean? Like you're blanking the Bruins through a period and a half, and then you're and then there's a couple that you just look at. And this isn't just this weekend. This is across really the entire season, or at least his entire Red Wings stint. It's just like, man, like he'll go out there and have a decent save percentage on any given night, and like keep the team in it for like 30, 40 minutes, and then just I don't know. It's kind of like a floodgates thing. It almost feels like, and it's usually a goal where you're like, all right, you probably could have and should. I've seen you make that save before, but like here we are.
I mean, the Red Wings, for what it's worth, I know they lost the first game, but I think they came out knowing their opponent. This is honestly the type of game I wish I had seen them play in Ottawa. I know you're in the back-to-backs. Like, this is a game where they absolutely knew their opponent and had to play up to them. And I think they punched them in the mouth a bit in the first period of game number 1. And then the Boston Bruins went to the locker room and went, okay, well, we weren't prepared. And came back out in the second and took it over from there and dominated. Just absolute domination by the Bruins in game number 2. The Red Wings could not get out of the defensive zone. It was really tough the entire time.
Period 2, yeah.
I mean, the Bruins, period 2. The Bruins, they earned that game number 1 win, but the Red Wings held with them the entire time. I have very little to complain about in that loss when talking about a team as dominant as the Boston Bruins were this season. I mean, that was their 50th win of the year, regulation win of the year. They were already over 100 points. So, I mean, for what it's worth.
After Saturday, they had still only had single-digit regulation losses, and we're literally in the middle of March.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
That's nuts.
Well, I had thought they had their 10th regulation loss. I thought it came at the hands of the Edmonton Oilers, but the Oilers handed them their 9th. Right. So, game number 2 in Detroit was their 10th regulation loss of the season.
Correct.
Which is just insane. And, that second game, and I want to kind of save that conversation, I guess, for segment 2. But, the Red Wings have kind of uncovered a little bit of a gem here with Alex Chiasson as a net front presence on the power play.
He's a dog. He's a dog, man. And I think that it's super. I don't know if it's the scouting department. I don't know if it's Stevie. I don't know what person or area is like majority responsible for it. But when you look at what they did at the deadline, they got rid of all of their wreak havoc in front of the net people, right? They got rid of Burt, obviously, but they also got rid of Sundqvist, who has been the person down low, the big body out in front of the net and on the power play, especially like when Ross was hurt and everything. I mean, that was gone during the stretch of games leading up to the trade deadline, and then post trade deadline, obviously that didn't change. So to go out and find even if this doesn't last and it's not a long-term option and it's just a cool little flair and he'll be a niche kind of player in the lore of Red Wings history, like whatever. I mean, you found someone that up to this point has really been producing at an area that we thought you were completely gutted of and got rid of everyone that could fill that role. So yeah, props to whoever really is responsible for kind of making that decision to bring him on and put him in that role. And obviously, most importantly, shout out to him for taking advantage of another NHL opportunity.
I mean, four points in 4 games. I don't know how long it's going to last, and you don't know how long this power play clicking the way it is going to last either. It could just be a new guy, don't have tape on him, so you're not sure how he's going to play. But, the fact that they sent him to an NHL contract and immediately put him on the power play, they clearly had an idea that was going to be kind of the specialist role he was going to have.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, he has been very good. He kind of did what I liked watching Raymond do earlier in the season when they had Raymond as the net front presence, where it wasn't so much about putting on a screen, but more so being a backdoor threat to draw the goalie out of position or defenseman out of position. And you saw it on Larkin's goal in game number 2 as well, where, Larkin ended up with a clear lane because the defenseman had to cover Chiasson off to the side almost. It was good. But when we come back, we have to go to a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about Dylan Larkin as he had a 3-point night in game number 2 as the captain, earning every penny of that $8.7 million contract. But first, I got to talk to you guys about Athletic Greens. Our next partner is a product you got to use literally every day. Start taking AG1 because with one delicious scoop of it, you're absorbing 75 quality, high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, and no nasty chemicals. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated routine supplement to recover. It cost him $100 a day, but Athletic Greens costs you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and five free travel packs, with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are breaking down the back-to-back games against the Boston Bruins. And I don't know how much else you have to say about the first game. They lost that one. So, meh. Hellberg again, .921 save percentage. Great performance by him. A shame they couldn't get him the win. But, I mean, shorthanded goal, awesome. Power play goal, awesome. But game number 2, they actually won. So,
yeah. And again, like as far as individual performances, I think we should probably just take a look more at, weekend as a whole than game by game. Because a lot of players that did well in one did well in both.
Well, for what it's worth, expected goals for percentage-wise, Filip Zadina, my boy, best player on the team with a 65 expected goals for percentage, 65% in game number 1. Yeah, good performance by him analytically speaking. He's turned himself into a really strong defensive forward, and he had a breakaway in game number 2. He just couldn't finish on it.
Yeah, I mean, he missed everything on it. But yes, I really wanted him to score that, to be honest. That
has become the norm with Zadina.
Yeah, he's trying to go backhand and airmailed literally everything. But
the guy you drafted for his finishing ability cannot finish.
Correct.
He's good defensively.
I mean, again, he did, I think pretty objectively have a really, really solid weekend. I agree with you. I think he looked really good. It's just putting the puck in the back of the net. That's been the big controversy for him, obviously, in his career. But and I was impressed with him this weekend as well, for sure. Really good in the neutral zone, man.
Oh yeah, really, he always has been. So game number 2, Dylan Larkin led the way with 3 points. He had a power play goal and then 2 assists in the game as well. He assisted on Alex Chiasson's power play goal, again just backdoor redirecting, assisted by Larkin and Raymond. Then you had the Moritz Seider shorthanded breakaway goal. Now, tell me if you had that on your bingo board for any given game.
It was a beauty, though, wasn't it?
Well, the fact that he picked the pocket of David Pasternak on the power play, went all the way down, and then rattled the cage with the backhander. It went bar in.
Absolute beauty, man. It was a fun one. I would say that maybe not first half of the season, but post trade deadline, that might be one of the coolest moments or coolest goals of the post-trade deadline Detroit Red Wings just the rest of the way.
Well, and it's funny. It was really a similar pathway in game number 2 as it was in game number 1 in terms of like Red Wings came out and punched the Boston Bruins in the mouth again. Period number 1, only walked away with a 1-goal lead, but in period number 2, Boston started to lay the pressure on. The shot attempts started to heavily favor the Boston Bruins in period number 2, but the difference is the Red Wings in their few attempts really finished. That's where you had again the Moritz Seider breakaway goal. You had the Dylan Larkin power play goal. What a rocket that was. I mean, you put Dylan Larkin in between the dots with no man on him. He's going to rifle it. He's got a shot. Such an underrated shot. But then Adam Ernie getting on the board as well.
Dog.
The dog. He does absolutely. That's the best way of describing Adam Ernie, as the dog. Jonathan Berggren shot was deflected behind the net, and he just got the rebound and buried it.
Man, he was kind of throwing bodies at one point too, man.
Yeah.
He's not gonna shy away from nobody. I got mad respect. Big ups Adam Ernie, man.
It was just, it felt like the Red Wings came out prepared to face the Boston Bruins in these 2 games. And, in this second game, they allowed themselves more padding, because when the Boston Bruins came alive in the second, Husso stood on his head also. I mean, he had 30 saves and 33 shots against. He played a great game, but the Boston Bruins chipped away at it. They chipped. They brought it within 1, and then Andrew Copp was able to empty net finish it, and that's when Larkin got a second assist. So it's just, I thought they had a good game plan to tackle the Boston Bruins. Get out early, and then obviously you want to keep piling it on, but it's really hard against especially Linus Ullmark. I was really impressed with the Red Wings' performance in these 2 games. I don't know any other way to say it other than that.
I 100% agree. I was also very impressed with Andrew Copp's performance. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but I thought Copper was great this weekend. And you kind of mentioned it earlier. I think he's finally starting to fulfill that role that we brought him on to do. He was pretty solid in the faceoff circle this weekend, which I think was something that we talked about when we signed him, and something that he really struggled with earlier on in the season. And a lot of people were like, what the heck? Like, he was supposed to be the face-off guy and kind of a defensive forward to throw into the mix here. And I thought that he was a lot better in the face-off, like noticeably, like they were talking about it at one point on the broadcast, even throughout the weekend. And yeah, I mean, had obviously put points on the board like beauty, but I think the biggest thing for me was just the secondary reasons, more so even than like scoring goals and whatnot. I think I was just impressed with him defensively, and I was impressed with him in the faceoff circle.
He's been absolutely kind of getting his strength back. I feel like you can see that pretty easily.
And they put him in, I mean, late in game 2, especially. He was taking almost every faceoff at the end of the game there for a reason, and I think, yeah, very impressed with him.
Analytically speaking, I thought Robert Haig had another really good
Robert
game.
Haig, dude. That's my question.
I'm not disrespecting Robert Haig. It's just one of those things where it's like you have to take the full thing in the consideration, right? Like his second best Corsi for percentage in game number 2, 71%, but he's playing 13 minutes of 5-on-5 time a night, and he's playing against there's no easy member of the Boston Bruins, but he's not playing the toughest minutes either. I mean, if you look at it, Moritz Seider, that was the 3rd worst player on the team expected goals for percentage wise, but he's playing the toughest minutes. So like Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, they were the worst 2 players expected goals for percentage wise, but Raymond had 2 points, Larkin had 3 points. So it's one of those things where like, I love the advanced analytics, but sometimes you're like, okay, well, this player contributed production, like actual production on the score sheet. And granted, a lot of those came on the power play and special teams, and this at 5-on-5 doesn't take that into account. So it's kind of like it's a great supplement, but we can't base our entire conversation on it. And sometimes I feel like I fall into that trap. But Robert Haig, going back to the main point, Robert Haig did have a very good game in the limited amount of ice time he did have. I'm respecting him. He had a good game, all right? I'm respecting him.
I know you're respecting him. He was good, though.
Yeah, he was good. If you include all of the special teams included, as well as 5-on-5. I was trying to figure out a way of putting it all the strengths. Obviously Larkin and Raymond climb back towards the middle because power play time is huge into helping. But
Yeah,
that's why we usually look at 5-on-5 time, just because that's when things are even, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
All right. When we come back, we'll finish off this conversation. Got to give some more props out. Let's talk a little bit more about Ville Husso when we come back. Good game out of him. Nice bounce back performance. But first, got to talk to you guys today about Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to try Built Bar. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. For years, we've been telling you, just go to Built. Go to Built.com. But now you can find them on a storefront. You can find them on a shelf. You can find them at Walmart and Sam's Club. You go to Walmart, you get a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. And if you go to Sam's Club, you can grab a 13-bar box with hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You will thank us later. So again, Built.com, Walmart, Sam's Club. You won't regret it. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. We kind of glossed over Ville Husso's performance, but I mean, in both of these games, the goaltending was, and this has been the case all season long, but good goaltending was so vital to the Red Wings' success in both these games. Even the fact that they lost the first game, I mean, held in it by Hellberg. And the second game, Husso made some really timely big saves. You might make an argument that like the third goal, Husso maybe should have saved, but also when you look at who scored the third goal in the second game, David Pastrnak, who has an absolute piss missile of a shot. I mean, hard to give him crap for that. I think both the goalies deserve massive props for their performances this weekend.
For sure. And we talk about it all the time, just pretty much after every game.
Yeah.
We talk about how much pressure this defense puts on the goaltending pretty consistently just because of how shallow it still is. But I think both sides of the coin really stepped up this week. And I thought the defense was a lot better than we haven't had too many conversations of, we love to highlight when it's poor because it's poor a lot, but I think they do deserve their flowers. I thought the defense was a lot better this weekend than I probably ever expected it to be in this back-to-back. And the goaltending certainly follows suit and did the same thing. So, yeah, big ups for sure.
Yeah, there's just, like I said, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I was just super impressed with this team's performance. I mean, David Perron had a couple nice plays as well. Yeah. He had a play where he forced his way through like 2 Boston defenders and got a shot off. And then at the end of the period, this is a kind of like, I shouldn't be so impressed by this, but at the end of the first period, because David Perron gets into it. Like he's got an edge to him. At the end of the period, but in front of the benches, Marchand cross-checks him. And because, that's Marchand, he's trying to get you into stuff and draw a penalty. Perron, like, gave him a little shove back. And when Marchand came back and you could see, I can't remember who it was, maybe Kubalik, come over and, like, try to get into it. And Perron put his hand on his chest and just, like, waved Marchand away, like, just go. And, like, I was low-key super impressed by that. I know that's such a non-essential part of the game or non-significant part of the game.
Yeah.
But I was like really impressed by just like it's the end of the period. I'm going to go to the locker room with no penalty. We're up. It was just, I was like, wow. I don't know, that caught my eye.
I was really impressed with, impressed for the opposite reason. I was really impressed with Dylan Larkin right after the horn sounded and the boys cleared the bench. Boston was skating by. There's a couple of players. I forget who they were, or maybe I just didn't ever notice who they were. But there's a couple players still skating off the ice, and Larkin is skating on the ice from the bench to go celebrate the win with the team and is just jawing at whoever is skating by him as they're heading into the locker room. So
can you imagine it's Bert?
For the opposite reason of you, I was really impressed with that. That's my captain, baby.
So, fun fact, though, if you really want to get into it. So Austin Czarnik, who got called up because Robbie Fabry, first of all, we haven't even mentioned it. Have we mentioned the fact that Robbie Fabry, was cautiously optimistic? We did say that on Friday's episode. So Zarnik got called up to fill in, and Zarnik had a team leading 78 expected goals for percentage in game number 2.
Dogs.
Followed up by Robert Haig.
Dang right, baby. Respect Robert.
It's nice to see the depth players really showing up. I mean, Zarnik had a good game analytically speaking in the first game, and so did Haig. They were 3rd and 4th in expected goals for percentage. And I know, again, limited minutes, so the smaller sample size will boost if they had a good or a bad game, or kind of amplify that. But, you got to make the most of the minutes you get. And in both games, they did against the best team in the league. So depth, I think the depth played especially well these 2 games.
Well, I think it's honestly, we talked about coming into the season how vital depth was going to be for this team no matter what. And obviously, trade deadline, you lost some of that. So the fact that not only is it the depth, but it's the depth that wasn't like there are some dudes depth wise that weren't even on this team or at the NHL level pre-trade deadline that are now filling in those roles, playing against the Boston Bruins and doing really well. That's unbelievably impressive.
And we talked early in the season about how important that was. And Yzerman clearly had a plan of signing as many depth pieces as possible. That's why we had a Chiasson. That's why we had a Zarnik. That's why we had a Luff. Because they're guys. Season,
so 1 or 2 injuries and we were toast, right? Like it was gone. So that's why. You're exactly correct. There's so many either like depth signings at the AHL level even, or like 2-way signings and stuff like that. Like we saw so much more of that this offseason than we did last offseason for that exact reason.
I just keep thinking about that Seider breakaway goal though.
It was a beauty, man.
Oh, I love him, man. It might be my new favorite Red Wing. Might be.
Yeah, there it is. Right. Yeah. I always forget he's hanging on the wall behind you.
He's hanging on the wall.
How about the Toledo Walleye 16? They still have not lost.
And Seabass is killing it, dude. He's crushing it.
They still have not lost since we had that conversation in the middle of last week. And yeah, they are now at the time of this recording, Sunday night, they have 16 straight victories.
And how about the Moose Knuckles winning 7-2 at Fraser last night? That was big.
How about it?
Yeah. Going into playoffs. We have next week is playoffs for us. So,
good
game, 11 o'clock start. Can't wait.
You sounded super enthusiastic about that.
I'm enthusiastic for the game, but not the start time. Loving that. But I have no.
Is this the Sunday or the Tuesday league?
This is the Sunday. Tuesday lost in the semifinals last week, so
that's brutal, man.
We're done until middle of April when spring starts. But that's the beauty of men's league, Scotty. Is season ends, and then like 2 weeks later, there's a new season.
There's always tomorrow in men's league, baby.
Oh yeah, I blocked a big time shot, rushing the blue line. I'm gonna have a bruise right here on the arm.
Ooh,
and then skated down the ice and abruptly.
He's a grinder.
I grinded it out in this game, and
he's an enforcer. He's a grinder. What can't the kid do?
Score.
They don't give anybody elite prospects pages, Brian. I don't know if you know that.
So my favorite thing about that elite prospects page still is that they credited me for 3 games and a goal when I played 4 games and didn't get a single point. Like the stats aren't even wrong on that. I'll take the goal.
Why are you admitting that? Yeah.
Because I was subbing in for a team that was so banged up that I was literally subbing for a juniors team at a showcase in Chicago.
All the scouts there were like, this kid.
Yeah, that's why the team asked me to play the rest of the season with them. Totally. Because I was just killing it.
See, that's how you need to sell it. There we go. Yeah, because I scored a goal, right? There you go. Bang.
No, it was a nice, cheap Chicago trip for me, and I got to play some meaningful hockey for one last hurrah before going back to my men's league team and bragging about my EP.
Dang right.
All right, Scotty. Any final shout outs, hurrahs, thoughts?
I'm trying to think. I think that's every individual performance that I wanted to cover, honestly. Yeah, no, we ball. I think that's it.
Yeah, we absolutely ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, previewing the game against the Nashville Predators. As I think we'll also talk about, unless there's any huge news, which never know, but unless there's any huge news, we'll talk about the sadness thing that you brought up on Friday.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we want to talk about that.
That the Red Wings lead the league in sadness. And we'll explain what that means on Tuesday's episode, barring any big breaking news. So stay tuned to Lockdown Red Wings. Same time, same place. It's your team every day. Almost forgot to do the signature sign-off. Every day.